Alright, Shalom, all the brothers of Israel, only people out there that be watching this on YouTube and in the internet world. So like, it's kind of dark now, but it's the Sabbath, so I came out a little bit later on when the Sabbath started. You know, so I could do my work before and then clean the house and all that kind of shit, and then come out and then, you know, it's just work. So like, you really can't see this, but really, you know, it's about the word that's going to be coming out. That's what's important about this video, not the picture, but the words that's going to be coming out. You know, as always, double honors to the elders, right? Honors to your brothers that be pushing this word in sincerity, right? It's important that we be coming out every week, week in, week out, regardless of the conditions that we might be in, financially, physically, and you know, push this word right up, you know, because we're close, man. We're close. You know, Most High's about to put, you know, the final stamp as a word to this system, right? And you know, through the grace and mercies of the how about you outside, we're nearly out of this thing. You know, it's nearly finished. Right? With that said, we're gonna get into scriptures. We're gonna start off with where I left off last week, and that was Job 20:1. Right? Alright, this is Job 20:1. We'll start up at 5. It says, the triumphing of the wicked. It says, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite for but a moment. Right? Because the triumphing of the wicked is short. Right? See, the so-called white man thinks he's, you know, he's all done and dusted because he's got everyone in slavery. It's not the case. Right? The triumphing of the wicked is for about a short time. Right? Most High is about to wrap this place up, man. Most High is about to get those nuclear bombs out of here, man. Right? As we're gonna see, as this scripture proceeds, man, you're gonna see he's gonna describe what a nuclear missile is gonna do to this. Describe how this place is gonna go down. Describe how the triumphing of the wicked is short. Right? This is Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Right? Most High is basically showing you there, man, that the people that be right here in rulership, hence the people that have the earth, are the wicked. Right? Therefore, the people that are in rulership now being the wicked, right, are also the people that done change all the pictures of the icons, which is called iconoclasm, right? So all the Hebrew men, all the Israelite men that ruled that basically were in rulership in the 1600s and prior to the 1600s, right? All those images have been taken down and whitewashed, right? That's why the scripture says, right? The wicked cover of the faces of the judges thereof, the wicked, right? Being rulership right now, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Right? If not, if it isn't this man, where and who is the wicked? Right? And that goes to all the you so-called church-going Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and some of you northern tribes. Right? Because you're all up into this man's system. You're all up into the worship of this man's system. I mean, it's simple when you think about it, because when you take down a kingdom, right, or you take over a group of people, you take down their financial system, right, so they become financially dependent on you. Now here we see, right, the United States taking out Gaddafi and his gold-backed currency, right? That's how you take over a kingdom. Once you've taken over their kingdom, you implement your own religious beliefs, right? Because once they believe in your own religious beliefs, really you can get them to worship you, right? Which is what happened in Egypt. That's why the Egyptians, them Hamites, right, them worship pharaohs. Right? That's why they had them like gods, right? Which is idolatry. You ain't supposed to do that. The only worship is supposed to be the worship of the Most High. But they're Hamites anyway. We don't care about it. That's when our people get all up into them philosophies, trying to say there's some natural Nubian earthborn person. No, listen. The Most High put you upon this planet, right? And for one purpose only. And that purpose, as we see, as you can read in Ecclesiasticus, right? About what it basically says. scripture is kind of slipping my mind at the moment. The scripture basically says, here's the conclusion of the whole matter: fear God and keep His commandments. Yeah, and it also goes on to say, this is the only that's your only job as a man upon the planet. Right? But how do you take down the kingdom? You take down the economic system, right? You take down their religious beliefs, right? So they worship you and depend upon you. And that's what we see, and that's what this man is trying to implement, so he can have rulers of this earth. Because it all goes back to Esau and Jacob and that birthright. And what's that birthright? That birthright was to take over, to rule this planet. The Most High was going to set up a dominant group of people to rule this planet. Right? As you see in the animal world, in the animal kingdom, as it were. Right, the Most High set it up that there's certain creatures that rule certain habitats. So if you're in a jungle in Africa, for instance, right, the dominant creature there would be the lion, for instance, right, and it all changes. And the dominant people that's supposed to be on the planet, the Most High set it up that was Israel, right? You Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, you're supposed to be the dominant people upon this planet, but you didn't keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So you're living in the ghettos, and whatever country you're in, right, whatever place you're in, you're always in the ghettos, right? That's a curse from the Most High. It said, "Curse shall you be in the city, curse shall you be in the field." Right? So you can't make no money, and for the few of you that do have no money, you really don't have no money. Right? Because if you did have money, and I mean substance, if you did have money, and really money and wisdom, because if you have wisdom, then you know whatever pieces of paper that you have is just toilet paper. Right? The value of those dollars or pounds or whatever fluctuates, whatever the so-called white man wants to put it at the day. Because it's so systematic. This man wants you dependent on him, right? And to worship him so he can be the dominant one, so he can have that birthright back. Right? That's why the scripture says the wicked, right? The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Why was it given into the hands of the wicked? Because the Lord, we didn't follow the Lord's statutes and commandments of the Most High. The Most High puts you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, you northern tribes, right? You northern tribes, yeah, you northern tribes, right? The people that used to constitute the land known as America before the Americans went up there. So-called Seminole Indians. You're the people on the Most High. Right, and you have the southern tribes, the people in South America, from all throughout South America, Brazil, all of that, Guatemala, all of that. You're all the people in the Most High, right? And the Most High basically set it up that, well, hey, if Israel's in a struggle, wherever you see 10 Negroes walking down the street, it's a fearful thing, right? Because there's power in groups, right? So the Most High basically dispersed us amongst all the people, so we don't have that power in the numbers. Right, and he gave the world in the hands of the wicked. Right, and we know he's the wicked because the scripture also goes on to say, right, when the wicked are in rulership, the people mourn, man. And what you see on the your so-called television, which is that idiot box, right, which be pushing out them philosophies, democracy, and all that kind of effeminate vibe. That's what your TV be doing. Really, you're supposed to be into these scriptures, man. Right? You're supposed to separate yourself from the things of this world, and one of those things of this world is that idiot box, right? But when you're supposed to be checking out the news because you're supposed to be watching it and hastening the day. So when you do check out the news, all you see is mourning, right? That goes to show you the people that have the world in their hands right now is the wicked, right? This is back in Job 20. It says, "Though His excellency mount up to the heavens, and His head reaches unto the cloud." Now the precept I'm going to link up with that is Obadiah. Uh, 1 and 3. It's Obadiah 1 and 3. "The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground?" Right? That's what this man says. He basically says, you know, because he's left the planet. He's put his madness in orbit, right? You got space trash, man. You ain't supposed to have no trash in space, man. Right? So that, you know, this man basically exalts himself as the eagle, like the scripture goes on to say. He's proud, and we know through the scriptures that the pride of a man is going to be that's the first step to going down, basically. So that's a good thing that he's proud. That just means to say the Most High is going to take him down, and it's going to look good for him, the Most High taking him down, right? This is back in Job. Right, this is back in Job. It says, "Yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he?" Right? Like I said last week, when the Most High puts us into the kingdom, he's gonna have that hardcore 1,000 years of slavery, and we're just gonna bind them and burn them, man. Right? And it says, "The eye also which shall see him no more. Neither shall he at his place any more behold him. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hands shall restore their goods." And like I said last week, that hand restore means that we're gonna take it by force. Right? When you look in the blue letter and you look up the etymology, right, you're gonna find out basically, by studying, you're gonna find out that it basically says that we're gonna take it by force. Right? His bones are full of the sin of his youth, right, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, right, though he hide it under his tongue, because this man always trying to wear those nice suits, right, which ain't really nice, man. They ain't nothing flavoursome about those suits, man. When we get up into rulership, that's when you're gonna see some nice garments, right, some Hebrew garments. None of this Baphomet worshiping attire. Because all the attire is basically a male phallus turned upside down, which goes back to the pyramids. Because it all goes back to the whole philosophy, the whole Babylonian philosophy of worshiping fertility. Right? It says, "Though he spare it and forsake it, but it shall keep it. But keep it still within his mouth. Yet his meat in his bowels is turned. It is the God's ass within him. He hath swallowed down the riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly." Right? And what are those riches? That's whenever this man goes into these different countries, bringing all the wealth of that country. Right? Like I was saying before, he basically goes to these countries, right, and basically takes down their economic system, and he wants to implement his own economic system, right? Implement so-called democracy, right, which is a philosophy of this world, and implement his religion, right? Because at the end of the day, they ain't no the word religion comes from the Greek, from the Latin word meaning religio, means to hold back and restrain. Hold back and restrain from what? Right? From trying to take back what's rightfully yours. So I come in your country, give you religion, so you're holding back and restraining from taking me down. Right? And you're dependent on me, and now you worship me because I give you that religion. And all that religion is me, right? In the forms, in the different forms to which you had your gods. So for instance, when the Greek general Ptolemy, which was one of Alexander's generals, went up into Egypt. Right, he made himself basically as one of the pharaohs. He made himself pharaoh, so the people came and worshipped him. Right, so you take the philosophies, the existing philosophies, and apply yourself into those philosophies. Now the people worship you. Now you've got complete control of the people. Right, and that's what this man wants. Why? Because it all goes back to that birthright, man. It all goes back to that to Esau and Jacob. Yeah, what's happening? All right, all goes back to Esau and Jacob. Right, fighting in the womb. Right? Because one person was going to be stronger than the other. Right? The Most High was going to put the spirit upon one person, that he wasn't going to put the spirit on the other. One person was going to be righteous and one person was going to be wicked. One person was going to have the rulership of this earth and one person was going to be burnt and discarded. Right? Right. We're going to carry on with the scripture, and it says, "He shall suck the poison of the asp, the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he labored for," which was trying to take over this planet, right? "That which he had labored for shall he restore," right? He's going to restore it back to us. And like I said, that word basically means we're going to take it, right? But we ain't going to take it in our own time. The Most High is going to put that spirit upon us, man. He's going to give us those new bodies and those new minds. And those minds is going to be important because those minds are going to have the Lord's statutes, commandments within them. right? So you ain't gonna have to ever worry about us going off in the kingdom, because them laws, statutes, and commandments is gonna be within us, right? And it says, that which he hath laid before he shall restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restoration be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and he hath forsaken the poor. Who's the poor on this planet? Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, right? Seminole Indians, right? You West Indians, right? And really, if you got flavor upon this planet and you're all up into the scripture, hence you got a zeal for the Most High, right? But obviously not according to the truth, because you knew the truth, you would turn back to the Most High and you worship Him. You go and study, like the scripture says, turn you back into learn from the ancients, basically. Learn from the ancients, which is laws, statutes, commandments, and the prophecies that were. Because if you really understand the prophecies, then you understand that this man's right about to go down, man. Right? He's at the precipice of going down, man. He's at the edge of the cliff, as it were. He's circling the drain, and that's a financial term that they use to describe the financial systems that really initially it was coined to describe the financial system in America. But when you look at the whole world, everyone is in some kind of financial turmoil. The strongest economy that was a couple of months ago was probably China. They're having trouble, right? The UK is having trouble because the people are complaining about the austerity measures that the government is implementing because there's not enough money, right? But how can there not be enough money, right? Well, it really isn't any money. It's fiat currencies. Right, it's backed by nothing, right? Because when you had gold, that's when you had true money, true value. Because you could trade a goat for a gold, and the person who had that piece of gold would know exactly how much that piece of gold was worth. So if it was an ounce of gold, it will always be an ounce of gold. But if I got a pound today, it's not going to be the same pound tomorrow, because, like I said before, this man could set it up that pound could be 1% of its value the next day, if that makes sense. Right? This is, we carry on. It says, because he hath oppressed the poor, and he has oppressed and forsaken the poor. Right? Because you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, like I said, man, he's oppressed us. Right? You go out into one of these work firms, you can't get a job. Right? You can't get no work. The food that you eat is defiled. Right? Because the Most High set it up that this man will oppress and forsake you. Right? But the Most High has also set it up that he was only going to last and do it for a certain amount of time, because like it says, if the Most High wasn't going to come down and take him down, no flesh would be saved. There would be no flesh to save. Right? Everyone would have been susceptible to the madness that this man puts out, the vibration that this man puts out, which is that faggot homosexual vibration. Right? All of the food that you eat is all defiled. Right? It breaks you down. Right? This is Job 20 and 20, Job 20 and 19. Because he hath violently taken away in the house which he buildeth not. And who does that on this planet? Right? That goes to show you the simplicity of these scriptures and the simplicity of the prophecies. Man, we really only have to read a few prophecies to know who the wicked is in accordance to the scriptures. Right? Who's the group of the people that goes and takes a house that's not theirs? Who's the group of the people that goes and takes down a kingdom's so-called religions and philosophies and puts themselves up? Hence iconoclasm. Who really does that? Alright? It says, they shall, surely he shall not feel the quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. They shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look on his goods. Right? Now I'm going to jump down. 24, it says, he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. Right? It is drawn, it cometh out of the body. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of the gall. The terrors are upon him. And that's basically describing the way this man's going to go down, which is them nuclear weapons. Right? It says, all darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. Right? And that's that fire, because like you have like TNT, right, and other explosive from olden times before the nuclear bombs, you would have to ignite it, right, before it explodes, because all the a bomb is of any kind is just a fast fire, right? A fire that moves very quickly. So in essence, you can make a bomb out of flour, for instance, right? So if you disperse the flour within the air, right, and you strike a match, right, if it can bust fast enough, right, then that's a bomb in essence. That's what basically happened. That's what they say it started the fire of London a couple of hundred years ago, right? And like you see petrol, right? If you light all of it at once, it's gonna blow up, right? But now the difference between a nuclear bomb and a bomb that starts with fire, hence a fire not blown, is that you really don't have to strike a match, light up a nuclear bomb. It's just a chain reaction. It's a chemical reaction, and then it disintegrates everything that's in its presence, right? It says, a fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill within him that is left in his tabernacles. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. The increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of wrath. And that really goes to describe really, if you envision the way a nuclear bomb works, once it goes off, everything flows, right? Because everything melts, like it says in Peter's, right? The day of the Lord is darkness, wherewith all elements shall melt with a fervent heat, right? It says, this is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, and his heritage is appointed unto him by the Most High. So that's the heritage appointed unto you, right? By the Most High, right? Next scripture I'm gonna pull out is 1 John. No, that's not it. All right, this is Job 30:1. With regards to youth, right? It says, but now they that are younger than I, right, have me in derision, right? Because Esau's technically younger than us when you look at it on a spiritual sense, right? Whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. Yeah, where aren't so the Most High? So Job's basically saying that I wouldn't even have their fathers sleep with the dogs of my flock, because they probably fuck the dog, right? It says, yea, whereunto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they are solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in aforetime, desolate and waste, because they used to live up in them caves, man. It says, who cut up the mallows from the bushes and the juniper roots for their meat, right? And like I was watching today, right, that really goes into something else, because the Most High basically reduced this man to a cave dweller where he was eating roots and all kind of, basically what we consider, you know, poor, like really living out of the dust, eating off the dust, right? But the elders brought out, man, you really gotta get into them herbs, because when you look at it, when it was all up in them caves eating them herbs, they was gaining that physicality, right? Because them herbs be really good for you. That those roots, the gingers be really good for you, right? And ginger's a root, right? Garlic basically is a root, and garlic's one of the most potent things you can find out there. It's more potent than anything that this man could come up with, right? In any kind of pain, you got a headache, you got joint pain, whatever, just cut up some garlic, you know, have it with some bread or something. I mean, you know, just chop it up into little bits, and you know, just take bits and pieces up with it, because I mean, it doesn't really taste all that. You don't really want to taste that on its own, but you know, once you develop it, you can just eat it as is, right? So they was all up into these caves, right, and they was basically getting stronger. Because why? Because the Most High set it up there after a certain amount of time, they was gonna come back and get back in rulership, and that's what we see right now. They're back in rulership, right? And it says, they were driven forth from among men, right? They cried out after them as after a thief. dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, in the rocks, among the bushes, right? They brayed. Under the nettles were they gathered. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth, right? And that basically goes to show you the natural description of this man, right? That's him in his natural state. That's why when you come out here, it looks basically like a curve inside out, right? When this is the kingdom of heaven, you ain't gonna see no fucking concrete out here on the fucking floor. You walking around on concrete. You're basically wearing down the joints, wearing down the cushion in between the bones on the bones of your legs. That's why when you get old up in this kingdom, you walk like, man, you really can't walk, right? But if you see those, like, for instance, some of these Hamites that be in these different countries, and they got the soft grounds underneath their foot, they got the roots and the herbs, and they're eating off the herbs, and they're eating the right kind of diet, man, they will be old up in age, 90, 100, living all right, right? No kind of joint pain, because they're eating right, and they don't have to walk around in this polluted, defiled planet, infrastructure, right? That's why the Most High is going to come down and destroy it, because really, if he doesn't, there's not going to be any flesh to save anyway. Right? Right. And this is 9. Job 30:9. It says, "And now I am their song, yea, I'm their byword. I'm their byword." Right? They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spare not to spit in my face, right? And I mean that's prophetic coming from Job, because that's how they look upon the people of Israel right now, right? That's how they look on the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, West Indians, and all you really, if you got that spirit upon you, you've got a spirit that the Most High put upon Israel, then they all look at you like you're a piece of shit, right? Because you're their byword, right? You're a nigger. Right? That's a byword. That's a byword. That's a stigma that they put upon the people of Israel. Right? And that goes to show you that this man don't love you. Right? And you know, you Negroes really gotta stop loving this system. Right? Once you stop loving the system and come back and turn back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, right? For His grace and mercy, if He's picked you to be of His elect men, which I pray for you, how about me outside, I'll be part of the elect. Right? If He's picked you to be part of His elect, hey, if He's part of His elect, hey, just suffer a little while, and when we get up in the kingdom, man, you live 1,000 years in one lifetime, man. You're all right. You're all right. Right? This is 1 John 2:15. This is 1 John 2:15. It says, "Love not the world," right? No, you ain't supposed to be all up into this world, man. You ain't supposed to be all up into this world, right? Loving this man's system, loving this man's economy. It's about to be burnt up. Yeah, even if you turn back, if the Most High puts that spirit upon you, you turn back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, you'll be all right in the kingdom, man. You'll be all right in the kingdom. The Most High said the least of the people of Israel is going to be likened unto David. The least, the most nigger of niggers is going to be like King David in the kingdom of heaven. Right? So if you turn back into this kitchen, man, you're going to be all right. Sex ain't going to be a thing in the kingdom. Right? You're eating the right food. Hell, the best thing about the kingdom is the Most High is going to put those laws, statutes, and commandments within us, right? So we become susceptible to the blessings of the Most High as opposed to the curses that He's put upon us right now, because we wasn't keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments that He set forth. Right? It says, neither the things that are in the world, right? Neither anything that is any philosophy, any kind of treasure that this man puts upon you Negroes' faces, you all up into. You all up into the cars and whips and whatever, man, and cribs and all. That's all madness, man. That ain't higher living, man. If you really wanted to live large, man, you would get yourself a couple of £100,000 and move out of the system. Right? And that's what this man really does. He gets himself established financially in the system and moves out. Right? And that goes to show you Negroes ain't got no wisdom. Right? Because if you have some kind of logic about you, I mean, if you was going to be into this world, which you're not supposed to be, just using this as an example, that's what you would do. You get yourself established, get yourself a certain amount of silver and gold so you're nice, right? And move out the fucking country, right? Go to one of these less set up infrastructures where you ain't gotta walk on concrete, right? Where you can access good food, right? So one of the islands, for instance, or like Jamaica or Puerto Rico or something like that, somewhere that's not really set up, where you ain't gonna walk on concrete, you ain't gonna breathe defiled air, right? You don't see no motherfucking cars all over the place. That's what you would do if you Negroes really had any kind of wisdom. That goes to show you, right? The Most High is basically taking away that wisdom from you, which is one of the curses, right? He's basically turning his back upon you, because when the Spirit of the Lord is upon you, man, you get all up into all kind of things. Right, and that's what you see when the elders be breaking down these scriptures, man. They be all up into all kinds of different things, because the Spirit of the Lord is upon them. Right, and hey, Lord willing, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Right, and you know, as brothers build up, we be getting into all different kind of things, because the Lord says you got the unction from the Most High to know all things, man. Right, so we can get into any kind of thing that the Most High sets forth in front of us. Right, and really now the big thing in Israel, right, is them herbs, man. Because we mean, hey, if the Lord has mercy upon us, right, and we make it, namely me, but then when the Most High comes, we're gonna have a period of time where we're in the wilderness. We ain't just gonna be handling the kingdom, right? Gonna be a period of time we're gonna be in the wilderness, so you're gonna know what to eat, right? Where it's gonna be in the spirit, you know what to eat, how to eat it, right? And it says, if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him, right? For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, right? The lust of the flesh, right? That's what you see on these TVs, lust of the flesh, right? That's why all of these women ain't dressed up, man. The woman's supposed to be dressed up from head to toes, right? And she's supposed to walk around with shamefacedness. You don't see that from the motherfucking black woman, right? Women's supposed to be all covered up, man. That's in the law, right? So all of these people that be talking about, they love Jesus and so on and so forth. If you don't see it now, you really don't, because the love is you don't see it in the scriptures in a second anyway, right? The love of love is a fulfilling of the law, right? It says and the pride of life. Right? That's why these people be getting these so-called big houses, which ain't really big in comparison to what the Most High would give you in the kingdom of heaven. But then, at the end of the day, you're off. Anyway, you're all up into this system. That means to say the Most High really ain't dealing with you. Right? But if you're getting cut when you're listening to this video, man, that means you gotta cut that shit off, man. You gotta cut the lust of this world off. Right? You gotta turn back into the scriptures and get deep in the scriptures. Right? And you get the real riches, which is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I pray Yahweh Shem Yahushai blesses me with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this truth. Right? Because those are the true riches of this. Those are the true riches, period. Right? That's why King Solomon, when he was up in rulership, he didn't ask for nothing but wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? And the Most High blessed him for that, with all kind of carnal attributes. Right? Because how can you really appreciate the carnal attributes when you don't appreciate the wisdom behind to know? Basically, when you look at it from a culinary example, you're gonna plate of food, right? You buy it in the shop, right? That shop closes down, for instance, right? And you want to recreate that dish, or you want to make it better. You gotta have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to really appreciate that dish, because once you put it together, you're gonna put it together using knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of how that dish was put together, how the chef did it, so on and so forth, right? Then you get the carnal attributes of eating that dish, right? Just as an example, that's why the Most High has got us out here reading and understanding really how you're supposed to conduct yourself, and then the spirit has its own the carnal attributes to it, which one is receiving which going to receive in the kingdom, right? It says, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world, right? It says, James 4:4. It says, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of this world is enmity with the Most High? Right? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of this world is an enemy of the Most High. So if you're all up into this man, you love this man's system, right? You're an enemy to the Most High. Right? Because if you're all up into this man's system, then you have no problem with homosexuality. Right? The Most High condemns homosexuality. He said a man who sleeps with another man should be put to death. I didn't say that. The Most High said that. Right? The Most High said there's certain foods you can eat and there's certain foods you can't eat. Because everything is in order. The Most High set up order. The Most High set it up that there's certain animals out here that be the sweepers of the street, as it were. There's certain animals out there that begin that cycle of decomposition. Right? And you're all up eating that shrimp. Shrimp, it don't even look like it's supposed to be eaten. Lobster doesn't even look like it's supposed to be eaten. Right? And that goes to show you the wickedness of our people. Right? And how much more so the Most High is going to put his wrath upon them. Right? Hey, Most High will be merciful to put you to death right now if you was not following his laws, statutes, and commandments. But he's not going to do that. The most you niggas, you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans that be all up into this man's system, you need to suffer. Right? And that's why it says in Proverbs 1:21, I will laugh at your calamity, mock when your terror comes. Why? Because you're all up into this man's system, and when you see us out here, you know, in all sincerity, trying to push this truth to the best of our ability, you laugh and you scoff. Right? So in that day when the Most High puts the wrath upon him, he puts his wrath upon you, you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that be all up into this man's system, right? That be loving this man's system, that be eating his defiled, wicked food, right? His abominable food, right? We're gonna laugh in that day, right? And rightfully so, right? Because that's what you deserve, man. Right? This is 2 John 1:6. It's 2 John 1:6, and it says, and this is love, that we walk after his commandments. Right? That's the love. That's the love according to the scriptures, man. That you walk after the Most High's commandments. Right? It says, this is the commandments as ye have heard it from the beginning. You shall walk in. Right? That goes to show you, all of you so-called Negroes, Hispanic, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, all of you people, you tribes, right? All of you people, the Most High, man. You're wicked. You're wicked. You need to turn back to the truth. Right? Hey, but then, hey, if you're not getting cut and you're laughing, then, hey, this thing ain't for you. Right? Like it says in the scriptures, man. Knowledge, wisdom is folly to a fool. Right? This is Romans 13:10. Romans 13:10, it says, love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Right? Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, so love is fulfilling of the law. Right? So, like I said, man, especially you nigga women, that's what you be talking about. You say you gotta love Jesus. Then if you did, then you follow his law, statutes, commandments, you take that pork out your mouth, right? Because love is the fulfilling of the law in accordance to the scriptures. Right? This is Romans 3:31. It says, do we then make void the law through faith? Right? God forbid. We establish the law. So you're supposed to establish the law. Right? Next scripture I'm going to bring out is Hebrews 8:8. Right, this is Hebrews 8:8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Most High, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. That goes to show you the Most High ain't dealing with no one. But you people talking about the new covenant, the new covenant is he made it with Israel. Right? Just like the old one, the first one, is the same as the second one. So the Most High is only dealing with Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and those dispersed amongst the Gentiles. So really, an Israelite can look like a so-called Chinese person, a so-called African person. Right? He can look like a so-called a Japanese, so on and so forth. Indian, whatever. The Most High dispersed Israel amongst the heathen. Right? So, basically, if you got a zeal for this truth, right, you're probably an Israelite, right? Because the Most High only put that conscience, that zeal for this truth, upon the people, upon his chosen people, Israel. Right? It says, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, with the house of Judah. All right, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them out of the land. I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. Now that's spiritual, right? And that goes to show you there is reincarnation in the scriptures, right? Because Most High likened this system unto the modern day Egypt, right? Now when the Most High takes us out of this Egypt, he's going to give us a new covenant, right? That goes to show you the beauty of this truth, man. Right? It says, not according to the covenant that I made with them, with their fathers, in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant.